Welcome to the Scaringi Law Lunch Break. This is your time of the day to learn a little bit about the law while you enjoy your lunch. It's becoming increasingly likely there will be no wall on our southern border. Not in 3 weeks, not in 3 months, not ever. The American people, including President Trump's most diehard supporters, of which I am one, must come to terms with this. In 2016, we elected a man who promised us repeatedly he would build the wall and who exhibited a visceral contempt for political correctness. And that's what's needed, because opposition to the wall is based not upon reason and fact, but upon this absurdity that somehow walls are racist and immoral. And when that man suddenly conducts a turnabout at the height of the battle on his signature issue, just because he encountered a bit of turbulence, that means the gig is up. And if Trump can't do it, no one can, except for perhaps that young Nick Sandmann. He's a man who doesn't back down, but he's 20 years from being eligible for president. Not only has Trump caved on the wall, he has inflicted upon himself the worst tactical defeat of his presidency. After shutting down the government because Democrats would not give him even $1 for the wall, he strangely negotiated with himself for 35 days, then reopened the government without receiving $1. Trump's announcement from the White House Rose Garden was like an act from the theater of the absurd. He declared to the applause of his staff that he was pleased to announce he had made a deal to reopen the government and end the shutdown that he caused. He then extolled the virtues of the federal workers he had furloughed, before waxing poetic once again about the beauty of walls. He wanted us to believe he's still serious about building the wall, but Trump is building castles in the air, and Democrats aren't listening to his siren song. He then vowed to shut down the government again in 3 weeks if they don't give him his wall money. What? Deja vu all over again? Hello, Mr. President. You already showed Democrats that you'll reopen the government without any wall money. So what's the point of making the same threat you already caved on? The president needs a refresher course in the art of the deal and on his own campaign platform. During his campaign, Trump pledged as president to impound all remittance payments derived from illegal wages, increase fees on all temporary visas issued to Mexican CEOs and diplomats, increase fees on all border crossing cards issued to Mexican nationals each year, increase fees on all NAFTA worker visas from Mexico, and increase fees at ports of entry to the U.S. from Mexico. He also stated tariffs and foreign aid cuts are also options. Yet once in office, the president has done none of this. He renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement, but failed to include a tariff on Mexican imports to fund the wall. We imported $340 billion in goods and services from Mexico in 2017. A 10% tariff would have generated $34 billion in 1 year alone, more than enough to build the wall. Trump obtained one of the largest tax cuts in our nation's history, but failed to secure a tax on remittances. In 2017, remittances to Mexico surpassed $28 billion. A 10% tariff would generate a couple of billion a year for the wall. And even though the President and Secretary of State has the authority to increase visa fees, he hasn't. The President also vowed that if Democrats don't give him the funds he needs to build the wall in the next 3 weeks, he'll declare a national emergency and build it himself. He has the authority, but he's had it since the day he was sworn in. That he hasn't done so by now gives me pause to think he ever will. If he tries, some Republican senators will oppose him. The media and Democrats will howl and call him a dictator and a racist, and he'll have to fight it out in the courts. But it's no longer evident the president will go to the wall for his wall. Trump's best chance to obtain funding from a Democratic House was by shutting down the government and forcing Democrats to cough up a pittance in funds to reopen that which sits at the center of their entire worldview. Trump had the Democrats in a political headlock, but then suddenly got wobbly in the knees and released. It's becoming increasingly clear that after 2 years and not one new brick, Trump apparently does not have the will or the courage to build the wall. So perhaps it's time for us to face the cold hard facts. There will be no wall, my friends. Rest assured, I'm not abandoning Trump. I'm just pointing out the truth. I certainly hope the president picks himself up, dusts himself off, and does what he needs to do to win this fight. Perhaps he has some tiger blood in him still. I have my strong doubts based upon his conduct to date, but we shall see. Well, that's about all the time we have today for the Scaringi Law Lunch Break. Thanks for listening and enjoy your lunch.